welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 242 are open. Today on the show, Fire Emblem Engage apparently finished production in 2021, Nintendogs might be coming to mobile, and I share some ideas of how to tackle your backlog. I hope you're going well, I hope you've had a fantastic week, and I've had a good day so far. GoldenEye has officially come out on Nintendo Switch Online, and actually Xbox Game Pass are part of the Rare Replay collection, so I'm looking forward to jumping into that game, because I actually haven't played through GoldenEye 64, mainly because my friends who I went over to their places to play the Nintendo 64, they never had the game. We always played Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, Mario 64, you know, all the staples, but that was one that none of my friends had, and I wonder if it was because it was, you know, a little bit more violent than a lot of what you might expect on Nintendo 64, but I'm keen to get into it. It's a good excuse. It's in the zeitgeist, I guess. So getting to play through the campaign and do some multiplayer. My friend Josh from Nintendvania put the offer out there earlier today, but might be some gaming sessions tonight for GoldenEye 64. So I know a lot of you guys out there will be excited about it, a lot of nostalgia. It's a game I've been hoping to come back to Nintendo platforms for a very, very long time. So here we are. It's finally here through all the legal ramifications and rabbit holes and whatever little warrens. It eventually got there. So congratulations to that. So looking forward to getting into some GoldenEye. Some housekeeping before we start. Be sure to go over to youtube.com/iDrewby and leave a little subscription over there. I very much appreciate it. Over there you can check out the House of Mario video version, as well as some other videos that I get up there. And also, if you are watching this on youtube.com/iDrewby, the House of Mario is on all good podcast services. Feel free to leave feedback through a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. 5-star reviews are very much appreciated. And of course, you can support us over at patreon.com/iDrewby from where's $1 can get you exclusive access to secret recordings and Heaps Good. And episode 7 of Heaps Good is actually live right now. And it's actually free, so you can go over to Patreon and get the video version for free, where Josh and I discuss the start of our Fantasy Critic League that we've combined with both of our Discord communities. So go and check that out. We've all got some interesting picks. I've got 4 games in my picks at the moment, including Atelier Ryza 3. So I'm very excited to see how I go this year. My very first time participating in a Fantasy Critic League. So fingers crossed. Let's see what I can get. We've got some more drafts to go in the year, so I'm waiting for a Nintendo Direct or something else to pop up. So, yeah, hopefully go well. Got an interesting Guru Geek Out this week. This is where we pay tribute to my good friend Bobby Paul's Nintendo Guru, and this might be an interesting one. This might make him laugh, but I tried something new this week, guys. I tried a pedicure. That's right. I'm a full-grown man, and I went out a pedicure because, you know, my feet hurt me a little bit. My job, I'm on my feet all day, and I get a big build-up on the bottom of my feet. You know, dead skin, all the gross stuff. So I said to Chantel, I'm like, would this be a good idea? And she said, yeah, it'd be a good idea. I've got a friend who specializes in that, got their own business. So, so you go and support some local businesses. And I went in there and had a nice pedicure. And my idea was basically, get your toenails in shape, get all the dead skin off, all of that. And I felt a little bit bad for the woman who was doing it, to be honest, because I even said to her, I expected most women would go in there, and their feet wouldn't be as bad as mine. And she actually said while she's doing it, getting the dead skin and all that gross stuff off, she said to herself, this is like the most I've ever got off anyone. I'm like, oh, good. I've beaten a record. Congratulations to me. And so it was really nice, actually. Got, your skin on your feet checked out, and it was good. And in the cost, actually, they included a nail polish and nail colors and all that. So I took advantage of that, and now I've got some blue toenails to coincide with my son's first birthday next week. So, yeah, that's a thing. So I got some nice blue toenails, and I got to admit, like I'm not too fussed about having colourful toes. It doesn't bother me too much, but it's quite nice. It's just a fun thing. I don't know how often I'll do it, but once a year, have a pedicure, get your feet in check, get them nice and good after a busy year shearing, and then get some nice nails on it. Start the year. Look at me go. But I won't be telling too many people that, just whoever's listening to this. But if you want a nice feet picture, I'm prepared. I've got my toenails done. I've got skin on my bottom of my feet checked out. Awesome stuff. So that's my Guru Geek Out. I've had a nice pedicure this week. All right, let's get into the gaming, guys. So it's been a big week in gaming for me. I've really enjoyed playing multiple titles throughout the week. But I guess starting off with something maybe a little bit more negative and a game that I've decided to not check out is Forspoken, which is a PlayStation 5 and PC exclusive. But I was really looking forward to this game in some ways. But sort of checking out gameplay and listening to reviews and sort of understanding more about the game, I've decided to sort of, put this game down the totem pole until it's on sale. A lot of the critiques were coming from the story, the dialogue, but just ultimately I didn't really want to play a kind of an aimless open world game where the combat isn't all that exciting. But I am keen to check it out when the price is a little bit better. I don't want to check it out for $100. And I've got plenty more games that I'm a lot more excited to play. But Forspoken, unfortunately, won't be checking that out the week of launch. Because I've still got like Dead Space remake that's come out today. Looking forward to getting into that. A game dropped at the Xbox Bethesda showcase or the developers showcase. Hi-Fi Rush looks awesome, just like a real vibrant, cartoony comic book art style, rhythm-based action gameplay. I'm like, oh, okay, this looks awesome. I really want to check that out. I played about 20 minutes before my son said, "Dad, that's enough. I need a nappy change." So I'm like just the bare minimum amount of played for that. Looking forward to get more into it. But throughout the week, I finished 3 games, and I'm really sort of happy with myself in some ways. I hope I can keep this tradition going. Maybe not 3 games, but 2 of them were very quick games. But the most notable for me was Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness, and The Secret Hideout. This is the second game that I've finished this year. And I talked about it a little bit last week, but it's been on my backlog for a long time, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I don't know exactly how many hours I put into the game. On PlayStation, it doesn't actually keep track of your hours for some reason. When you go to your save file, it's got like the more generic save system on PlayStation. Whereas on Switch, on your save file, it has like a tally of how long you've put into it. So it's a little bit of a shame, but I assume it's about 25 to 30 hours I put into the game to finish it. And when I wrapped up credits, I was really happy with my adventure with Atelier Ryza. It's just a really awesome JRPG that I've really enjoyed. And I knew that I would enjoy it, but why it fell into my backlog was because of the alchemy system, which is the crafting system. And this was Atelier Ryza is a game developed by Gust and published by Koei Tecmo. And previously on PlayStation 3 and Vita, the Atelier series was, I would say, a B or maybe C tier JRPG series. It had its fans, but Atelier Ryza was the game that really brought the series up a notch, got a lot more people interested. And since this game in 2019, the series has progressed a long way. Even last year with Atelier Sophie 2, that game was fantastic, and it had a lot of quality of life features that were even missing from this game that was released only a couple of years before. And when I was playing the game on Switch, I got lost because I needed to craft certain things. And how the game works is a lot of your items that you use in battle are crafted. So you don't find a lot of these. You can buy them for coal, which is the currency in the game. But ultimately, if you want to progress in the game, you've got to make weapons, armor, healing items. You pretty much got to make everything. And while that sounds daunting at first, which it is, it really does add a lot to the game. You've got like a crafting system where it's like a spider web, and you're able to put in certain materials into into each slot, and that can change its traits, its effects, its quality, just all the amount of HP it has, or certain effects that it might have in battle, such as like being stronger against certain classes of enemies, or leaving effects like burn, poison, etc., etc. So there's, for people that really want to min-max their loadout and gear, this is a game that's very much made for you. But it wasn't until later in the game where I actually really wrapped my mind around what this system can do. And I went through a lot of the game just sort of not being that strong. Because you do level up like you do in a typical RPG. You can grind and your stats go up. But it is very much based around the amount of effort you put into your gear, your weapons, all of that. But certain parts of the game ask you to craft a certain thing, and I was only probably 2 hours into the game on Switch, and I needed a certain ingredient for something I wanted to craft, and I had no idea where it was. And I guess my pigeon brain just went, all right, on to something else. Even though I was really enjoying just the opening hour of the game, I just got distracted. But with Atelier Ryza 3 coming out at the end of March, I'm like, all right, I need to finish 1 and I need to finish 2 because I really do want to keep up to date with the series. But I just need to sort of push through some of these learnings that I need to learn as far as the crafting and that goes. And it wasn't until later in the game where I really wrapped my head around the materials, because the crafting is a really big aspect of the game. Whereas you get a recipe for a item or a weapon or whatever have you, but within them you can actually unlock other recipes, and it actually becomes really addicting just going into certain recipes, seeing that you can unlock other recipes through that recipe, finding the right materials to do the spider web until you get to the portion where it becomes a new recipe. And once you craft, you get experience, you level up your alchemy level, which is separate to your adventure level. Which is basically just like your battle level, where you level up stats and that. It becomes really addictive, and it's just nice to sit down and sort of grind out that way, have brand new weapons and items to bring into battle. It's really, really awesome. And that's kind of my only gripe with the game, was not being able to find particular materials. I was spending a lot of time on Google being like, all right, where's this certain weed that I need? Where's this? Where's... Like it become frustrating, especially at one portion of the game where I was missing certain things. I can't remember exactly where they were, but in more recent Atelier games, it actually does have all the items listed out on the overworld map, where it says, look, you go to this area and this is the list of things you can find here, which is something I'm looking forward to in Atelier Ryza 2, whereas it would make it so much more simple, being like, all right, I'm missing this, it's no big deal. You press the options button, you click on the overworld map, I want to go here because I can see that item is there, instead of looking up some really large just table someone made on Google Docs. But that was sort of the only thing that drew me back from the game. I loved the story. The story was really nice. It wasn't like a Final Fantasy story where there's impending doom, or even a Fire Emblem series where... Fire Emblem story, where it's just like, all right, you need to collect all the rings because the Fell Dragon's going to kill us all. It is very much just like a coming-of-age story. There's a group of 4 kids on this island remotely, and they have lust for adventure. They all have their own sort of ways they grow throughout the story. And my favorite character would be the main character, Ryza, who, she... At first, everyone thinks she's just a troublemaker. She learns how to become an alchemist. And I related to this character a lot more than I thought going into the game, whereas she is the only child of a farmer on the island, and her parents are always nagging at her. She needs to do her chores, work on the farm, do this. But all she wants to do is run off with her friends, learn alchemy, and go on adventure. And I'm not saying that I want to become an alchemist or that I want to run off or anything like that, but I related to that. And throughout the course of the story, when she is just like, she's growing and people are gaining more respect for her, I really enjoyed it. I really sort of related to the adventure she went on. And towards the end of the story, where the character Lent, he's coming to terms with his relationship with his father. and he decides to head off and explore the world like his father did before him. You got Teo, who is like the more nerdy character who wants to go off study at the capital, and all these characters, they're going on their own separate ways. And also related to that, coming from like a small town where a lot of my friends they've moved on to bigger and better things. So yeah, by the time the credits rolled, I'm like, wow, I really enjoyed just the gameplay mechanics of this game, the story. It was just a really nice experience. So I cannot wait to jump into Atelier Ryza 2. Really enjoyed it. Just one of my favorite games. Well, my favorite game I've played this year by far. I've only played a handful of games, mind you, but really, really do recommend this game if you're in the mood for a JRPG. And the third game in the series does come out on the 24th of March. So you've got time. They're not super long games necessarily. But I sort of want to go back and do like all the post-game content as well as some optional bosses and all that type of thing. But I want to keep moving. I want to move onto Atelier Ryza 2. So awesome game. Really, really loved it. It really impressed me. The third game that I finished this year was actually Toem, and Toem's been on my backlog for a while too. I had a look on how long to beat, and it said about 4 hours. So after finishing a big long JRPG, I was like, fantastic. That's what I need. So I sat down for a play session one night and finished it in one sitting. And Toem, it's wonderful. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but if you haven't, it's a black and white game where you're basically looking to climb the mountain to experience Toem, which is this big, glowing crystal, I guess, and you get a photo of it. But it's a photo-taking game with puzzle elements. So you catch the bus, you go to a certain area. There's lots of NPCs who give you certain tasks, and some are a bit easier than others. Some are a bit obtuse. And I did actually use a guide a lot for this game, just because I knew that I wanted to wrap it up in a sitting, and I didn't want to be like scratching my head late at night trying to figure stuff out. So I went to each area, sort of did what I needed to do, and be like, oh, what do I do next? I just looked up a guide on my phone just quickly. So that worked for me. I don't know if that makes me filthy casual or not, but I don't know. I can't sit here and claim that I'm hardcore number one gamer, but it definitely enhanced my experience. But there's a few puzzles in this which were pretty interesting, and how you could actually, you talk to an NPC, for example, and one lost his dog. So you got to go and find the dog and bring it. Well, that doesn't sound exciting at all. It's just like a fetch quest, but like in between it all, it was fun, and just taking photos of everything as you go. There's like a compendium of all of the animals as you were progressing through the game, and that was fun to complete. All the developers had their pet in the game, so there's plenty of cats and dogs, and there's a monkey, and I don't know if any of the devs had a monkey, but it was just a great game. I'm glad that I finally got to experience it. It's been sitting on my PlayStation screen for a long time, so I'm glad that I got to sit down and experience that game. There is some DLC that I didn't touch, so maybe I'll go back and play that as well. I would assume that wouldn't be too long, but I played it a part of a PlayStation Plus actually. So that was a PlayStation Plus game at one stage. So that was really great. And the fourth game, which is a game I've been working on for a little while, and it's a really short game. It's called Hindsight. And I bought Hindsight on Switch late last year because when I saw it, it's a game about hindsight, which is something that I've really been thinking about lately. And the reason I've been thinking about it is just since having my son and seeing each month just how quickly and fast he's growing, it really made me reflective of myself and my family and the future, and just how quick time's going. And I think I talked about it a bit last week, just with as far as doing content creation and stuff like that. This year, it's just like I've got to put my foot down and at least start, because I now see how quickly time is going, and it's not going to last forever. And I don't want to be at the point in 10 years where I'm like, I should have started. And honestly, that is a scary thing to think about. So a game published by Annapurna Interactive, which, especially after Stray last year, Stray was one of my favorite games last year. Just a really great immersive storytelling through the environment. I was all about this game, jumping into it. So playing it on Switch, I started it probably in between New Year's and Christmas last year. And while some aspects of the story really drew me in, ultimately I thought it was a bit of a drag to get through, even to the point where my 2-hour playthrough was stretched over, pretty much a month, picking up here and there. I'll do like certain play sessions and I'm like, oh, I'm sick of this. So it just sort of dragged on. But there were some moments of the story that really sucked me in. So the game is about a woman who's going back to her parents' house to pack up their belongings once they pass away. And you see flashbacks through certain puzzles and aspects of the game. Because the gameplay is basically, you've got like a diorama of the environment and you can use the touchscreen. This was a mobile first game, I believe, on Android and iOS, where you could, you swipe and touch things to sort of work out the puzzle to move on. A lot of the puzzles are basically working out what to tap on and different perspectives of how to look at things. So for example, the main character might be holding a vase and you've got to go to the certain perspective where you can see through the vase a window to a different scene that progresses the game. So gameplay wise, pretty simple. You're just moving through, there's talking as it's going on. The main character's sort of narrating the whole experience. And yeah, like I said, some aspects really got me, like thinking about from her perspective of what she thought about her mother, how her mother wasn't attentive. She was always at work. She missed piano recitals. And that, the opinion of her mother wasn't very high, but going through her belongings, packing things up, she finds out that that's far from the truth, that her mother cared deeply. And even towards the end of her life, she booked tickets to go back to Japan, where she was born. And they ultimately missed that opportunity because, the main character, she's too busy with work, other commitments, didn't care because she thought her mother didn't care. And just the amount of hurt that she feels because she looks back and she can't control it, which was, it's heartbreaking. So, the story left a mark on me for sure, but there's times in between that where you're doing like, the main character, she decides that she loves cooking and she becomes a chef. And there's a section in the forest where you're basically going through the forest and you're tapping on bits of grass to reveal mushrooms. And there was a portion where I'm tapping on the grass and I can see the mushroom and I cannot tap the mushroom to, move on to the next story point. I'm like, come on, there was multiple times like that where it's just, I'm like, come on, just move up. Honestly, like a 40-minute game would have been perfect. Like just really sit there, get the story in 40 minutes, maybe just an hour or whatever. That would have been fine. But to sit there for that long, I'm not too sure. It was a little bit too long, I feel like. Because you think about 2 hours, that's like a full-on movie. But not sure. I'm also not sure about how long I put into the game as well, because it was spread out and there is no in-game clock. So I can't say it's 2 hours, but that's a good guess anyway. Most websites say that it's about 2 hours. So I can't say that I recommend it. I've been keeping track of my games on GG app, and it allows you to do a out of 5 stars. I gave it 2 stars, but on like a heavy sale. And if you are someone like me who is in this type of mood where you're very reflective and you're thinking about life and all of that, I think this game might strike a little bit of a chord with you, but I can't necessarily recommend it, which is sad because Annapurna Interactive, I think they're doing great games, but this one fell flat for me. So I've been talking a lot this week about sort of backlogs and all of that, and that's just the mood I'm in at the moment. And it's not even necessarily tackling a backlog, because I don't believe in like keeping a big list of your backlog. I think that creates anxiety, and I think that's probably not healthy as far as as far as your life goes. So these are just some tips or some ideas that I've come up with to try and tackle a backlog, which is what I'm utilizing at the moment. And of course, I'd love to hear from you guys, whether it's on youtube.com/iDrewby in the comments of this episode 242, or Twitter at twitter.com/iDrewby, twitter.com/iDrewby. I don't know why I did that. But these are some ideas that I come up with as far as tackling them, and hopefully throughout the year of 2023, they'll work for me, and I'll be able to hit my target of 24 games completed. So this is one that I actually believe in, and this is completely up to you whether this will work for you. But personally, my first tip is don't make a list. And I know it's easy to make a list. I know, well, it's not easy, but I know that sounds like a good idea on paper. But for me, I've always usually made a list at the start of the year. It's like 20-something games. It's usually pretty ridiculous because there are so many great games to play on Switch, let alone whatever else you have. But I think they'll ultimately just give you anxiety and make gaming feel like a job. So for me, I'm looking at recent releases. For example, like Dead Space Remake comes out today. I see, I look to next month, I see Octopath Traveler and Kirby at the end of the month, and I try to sort of organize other games I'd like to play around that. So now that I've finished Atelier Ryza, I would like to play probably Atelier Ryza 2. So I put that into my my currently playing section. But I don't have a big list. I don't look at like 30 games and be like, all right, I'm never going to beat this. Just play what you feel like at the time. Same with Toem. I finished a big game, so I was like, all right, let's put in a smaller game, detox a little bit before moving on to another big JRPG. So that's what I like to do for myself. Maybe make a list of maximum 3 games, but don't give yourself like a year list of stuff to get through. That's personally what works better for me. And don't make gaming feel like a job. Next up is something that I'm a big believer in, and I've been trying to do for a little while. I think I'm finally successful at that, is to set up your gaming environment so you're comfortable playing. And I know a lot of us say, look, I don't have time to game. I don't have this or that to game. But I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. And that's a cop-out when I say it as well. Don't get me wrong. There are times in our life or the year that we just don't feel like playing games. You know, you come home from work, you're a little bit tired, you just want to watch something, that's fine. You've got other commitments and all that, of course. But for me, I know like I was relying on my Switch a lot more than I probably should have, because a lot of the time, like the main TV in the lounge room where the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the Switch's dock are, that is being used for other members of the family watching TV and all of that. And it feels selfish to take that away and play that way. But I've mentioned this before the last couple of weeks, but I've really been enjoying my gaming trolley. So my 42-inch TV on a trolley with the Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch dock all hooked up to it. And that allows me to basically take it around the house, put it in the bedroom, wherever I need to play. And it's made a big sort of difference to my gaming. I've really sort of been impressed with it. And I'll say for you guys, just sort of acknowledge of where you can fit in more game time, or where you'd like to fit in more game time, and get the equipment to be able to utilize that. And by that, I mean, like, obviously you probably have a Nintendo Switch, so you're able to, if you've got a bus trip to work, or you can fit in some gaming time in your lunch break, whatever. Obviously, the Switch, a handheld portable, Steam Deck, whatever have you, would be perfect for that occasion. But also at home, do you want to be playing more on the TV, but you're in my position where you can't use the TV all the time? You've only got like an hour or two here or there. Or you want to play violent games and you've got kids in the house and you don't exactly want them to see them or whatever. Let's sort of think about how you can use that time to game and use the equipment to get it. Whether it's start PC gaming on a laptop and you can just put that on your lap, or you get like a little TV monitor and you put it next to the TV, or you put it on wheels like I did. I think there's a lot to that where you can actually utilize a lot more time. You just got to get the setup right for you. And it's something that we don't talk about a whole lot necessarily, the actual setup. I think console gaming is pretty basic. We've all got a TV in our lounge room. You buy a console or a Switch or whatever, you put it underneath it and it's good, but it might not necessarily be the best sort of situation for you to play video games. And that's what I found, because like Atelier Ryza, like 30-hour game, I smashed it out in like, I don't know, was it a week or two? Like not even 2 weeks. And typically for me, that was kind of impossible, especially on PlayStation. Like, it's insane. I probably put as much time into Atelier Ryza as I did my all PlayStation games last year. And that's just through changing a pretty simple aspect of my gaming setup. So think about what's best for you, whether it is just like the Switch is fine, I can play it wherever in the house, that's great. But yeah, personally for me, I wanted to play with a controller on a TV. I was missing that aspect of gaming. Like even on Switch, it's just nice to see it on the big screen. Next up is sort of something that I'm trying to implement this year, and it might not 100% work, but it is don't let big games turn you away. Organize your time over weeks, months, and years. And when I say this, I'm referring to myself with Persona 5 Royal. And this is a game where I'm like 100 hours. I do not have 100 hours for a video game. I can play it for 3 months straight and I'll have nothing. I do gaming content and I want to keep up with other games and whatever have you. So I don't want to just be putting it all into one game and 5 years later, I still haven't played through Persona 5 Royal. And that's it's frustrated me. It's been on my backlog and I've really sort of wanted to play it. So my idea for 2023 is to break it down over months. So my idea is over 12 months, put 10 hours a month into the game, and over the year, Persona 5 Royal will hopefully be finished. So I would say just like, don't think about like the game all in one big thing. Don't look at it all 100 hours or however long the game is and go, oh no, I'm not gonna get through that. Even if it's a certain game series, just break it down over a year, 2 years, 2 months, like whatever you feel like you need to be able to play through it. Do it that way. Break it down a little bit. Like I want to play through the Mass Effect series as well. And I'm probably going to break down, maybe after Persona, I've got to tackle that first, but I like to maybe tackle one Mass Effect game every year, since they are bigger games. Just play them over certain periods of each month. So yeah, that's the tip there. Tip number 4 is use howlongtobeat.com to fit in smaller games in between longer playthroughs. And I touched on this at the start where Atelier Ryza 2, Atelier Ryza 1, sorry. Now that I finished that, I'm like, all right, I need a bit of a detox. I'd like to fit in some other games in the backlog. So stuff like Toem, Hindsight, I looked up on that website, How Long to Beat. And 4 hours, perfect. That's a nice meaty play session. Get through the game, roll credits, and really enjoy the game. I actually got the platinum trophy on Toem too, through using the guide as well. So I would say that just like sort of mix up different gameplay experiences and lengths. So you're not just like, all right, doing a big long JRPG. Let's move on to the next big long JRPG, and just sort of lose steam a little bit because. Need some variety in your life. And the last one is just list and rank the games as you finish them. And this is what I'm doing on the GG app. You can follow them on Twitter, the GG app. It's an app on your phone where you can review games, rank, make lists. You can follow one another and, just all of that fun stuff. And I've had the app for a while, but I haven't really utilized it all that much. But now in 2023, when I'm really trying to tackle more games, I'm going to utilize it a lot more. And I'm making a list on there where I'm putting down reviews for all of the games that I'm doing, keeping a list, and also ranking them as I go. So when we get to the end of the year, when it's like Game of the Year discussions, I can just look at it and be like, all right, this is at the time of playing, this is where I ranked the game. And I'm looking forward to, being able to really utilize that to help me towards the end of the year if I'm actually been playing a few more games. So they're my tips. They're my strategies of myself tackling the backlog. Let me know what you guys think. If they're good tips, if they'll work for you, or if you've got some other suggestions that you think will help me, because I need all the help I can get, my friends. So yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to the news. So not too much has happened this week, but a couple of interesting tidbits that I thought we should talk about. This article is from gamesindustry.biz, titled Nintendo Reportedly Planning to Increase Switch Production in 2023. The article reads, Nintendo is reportedly planning to ramp up Switch production in its next fiscal year. Sources close to the matter told Bloomberg that the platform holder has already told suppliers and assembler partners it expects to manufacture more units of its console than in the current financial year. It has not told partners of a specific target. Back in November, Nintendo lowered its forecast from 21 million units shipped in the 12 months ending March 30th, 2023 to 19 million. However, Bloomberg sources claim Nintendo is on the course to hit its original target. The revision was due to the ongoing issues securing components, particularly semiconductors, for Nintendo Switch, but the company now believes those issues to be resolved. So, I guess why this is, notable is, the Switch is coming to the point in its life where we are sort of a little bit just, having a bit of a look over the fence, but like, yeah, you got something else over there, mate? You got something cooking over there, Nintendo? You got a Switch Pro or a Switch 2? You got a Super Switch? What we're dealing with here? And I think it's made pretty obvious that Nintendo in 2023 aren't going to have a brand new console. We talked about it previous episodes. And while that's, for me, it's a little bit of a shame, it makes a lot of sense just considering how many Nintendo are still able to sell. We've got plenty of games coming to the platform throughout the rest of the year. And for me, I just want to, remind you guys, the Switch is getting old, and it's coming into its last legs, and it's been a wonderful platform to play games on over the last 6 years. I just want to, let you guys know that enjoy it while it's still the current system, because for me, it's easy to lose sight of just how wonderful the Switch is, because we are sort of desiring a little bit more power to play some of the games that we'd like to play. Nintendo games typically that they'll run fine, but the third-party games now are becoming pretty vague. Really, they're not really coming out at all. Really, apart from the indie games, and I'd like to see more of that personally. Like a bit more power. Like I don't know. I'm the type of person that would literally buy a $2,000 Nintendo handheld. Like I really would. I was looking at the what was it called? There's another handheld PC coming out. The what's it called? Neo. I forgot its name. It's something like that. Anyway, it's the Neo 2. It's like a $2,000 PC portable, but it looks awesome. Like I really would like one, and I think probably in the position I was last year where I wanted to play games like Cyberpunk and I don't know, other third-party games on a portable. I think I would have, but now, like with this TV that I would just push around the house, I actually don't have a need for it, especially for $2,000. So, yeah, just a reminder, enjoy your Switch. There's plenty of games coming out, and we'll get more power one day down the track. Next up, this is from Vooks.net. A new patent trademark point to Nintendogs returning, but for mobile. The article reads, Nintendogs. Now, there's a name that we haven't heard in a while. The mega franchise was last seen with Nintendogs plus cats on the Nintendo 3DS, where it didn't quite hit as hard as it did on DS. Now it looks like maybe possibly Nintendo is doing something with it again. During the week, a new patent was released from the United States Patent and Trademark Office suggests something may be happening. While it doesn't say new Nintendogs, it does have some illustrations showing a user using their smartphone to place a dog in a AR space. These patents are usually very broad and general, so Nintendo could have just used a dog because that's what the person creating the the patent wanted. The next part is where it gets interesting. On the same day, the patent was filed with the US states government. A trademark Nintendogs was filed here in Australia. Both of them were filed on November 5th, 2021. This trademark was spotted by Vux Oliver Brandit over on news.com.au. This capitalized Nintendogs is different from the existing Nintendogs and Nintendogs plus Cats trademark. The newer trademark is slightly different from the latter, with them being Class 9 and 41 trademarks. The newer one is just Class 41, a game services provided online from a computer network. Class 9 trademarks specifically are video games. This is possible that this new Nintendogs, if it does exist, isn't classified as a game and more of a video game pet simulator, especially as it's now on mobile. So this is interesting, and it's funny because I don't know why, I can't remember. I must have been listening to a podcast or something that brought it up, but I was thinking to myself, like, if I can find a copy of Nintendogs plus Cats, I might actually get it and play it. Because back in the day, I loved Nintendogs so much. Like, me and all of my friends, we all had our DSs, and we all really got into Nintendogs. We all had our copy. I had the Dash Hound version. You remember there's different versions that you could pick up. And we were playing together. We go on walks every day. We do the obedience trials to level up. Do all the things you need to do, at least bath at least once a day. It was a lot of fun. We always used to do like the connectivity, go on walks together. But honestly, one of my favorite gaming memories is unlocking the Jack Russell in Nintendogs. And for those that don't know, which might be a lot of you, I don't know how many in-depth Nintendogs players are listening to this, but there was a really rare item in the games called the Jack Russell Care Book. And this was a certain item that dropped randomly on walks when you took your dogs for walks. And your dog needed really high stamina to be able to find this book. So lots of walking and grinding and all of that. And luck. I eventually found the Jack Russell Care Book. Once you find this item, you unlock them. You can buy them from the kennel. And in the game, you can send your dogs and give gifts to other players. And I gave the Jack Russell Care Book around to all my friends. They all unlocked Jack Russells, and it was just really nice. We all had our separate dogs. We all got Jack Russells, all taking them for walks together and all of that. And the Jack Russell, to me, is just like my favorite animal in the whole world. I love them very much. And being able to have them in the game was awesome. And just the fact that they were the rarest dog also made it very special. So I've got a very soft spot for Nintendogs in my heart. At 28 years old, do I need to be playing it? Not necessarily. But you can say that for Pokemon, Mario, etc., I guess. But this is maybe a little bit more basic. So I did kind of feel the inkling to be like, oh, I wouldn't mind playing Nintendogs. And I was in Adelaide and I went to a retro gaming store and I saw it. It was like $50 for a secondhand copy. And I thought to myself, no, I'm not that keen. I was thinking maybe $20 because EB Games and all that were clearing these games out like there was no tomorrow when 3DS was going out of print. So I missed my chance there, but if it's coming to mobile, I'll be quite happy to give this a go, to be honest with you. I want to tickle that nostalgia bone that I've got itching. It's itchy and I've got to scratch it. So I'll be quite happy to see Nintendogs pop up on mobile, even if it is just like a little AR experience that gives me 20 minutes of, that was a nice little nostalgic moment. Next up, this is an article from My Nintendo News, and it's titled, "It Seems Fire Emblem Engage Wrapped Up Production Back in 2021. The article reads, "We published a post yesterday which implied that Nintendo and Intelligent Systems were sitting on another Fire Emblem game. The news came out as the internal codenames for the Fire Emblem projects were shared on social media. Fire Emblem Three Houses was known as Iron 17 and Fire Emblem Engage was known as Iron 19. There had been discussions that Iron 18 would be, and it wasn't the code name for the Warriors spin-off Fire Emblem Three Hopes. It now emerged that Fire Emblem Engage wrapped up production back in 2021. though it was finally released in January 2023. This information has come via the Australian Classifications Board and the USK in Germany. This is leading to more speculation that there is another Fire Emblem game in the midst of development at Intelligent Systems, which is thought to be a remake of Fire Emblem Genealogy. Genealogy. Which one's that one? Not sure. I'm not a Fire Emblem expert. I actually don't know which that one is, but that'd be cool. So yeah, interesting that there's that this game was sitting on ice for a long time, and through the rumors and the leaks and whatever you want to classify them as, we sort of heard about this, that there's been a Fire Emblem game just sitting around waiting to come out, and it's interesting that it's been sitting on ice for that long. And I wouldn't even say that last year there was that many games where it couldn't have come out. We had, maybe they just wanted to space out Fire Emblem Warriors a little bit more, or they wanted to have a bit more space between Fire Emblem Three Houses. Not quite sure, but regardless, I think January was actually a great time for it to come out, away from Zelda, away from a lot of other big games as well. It's just like a nice place to put a strategy RPG. The type of people that want to play it will play it. And there's also not much else going on, so people might be attracted to the game just because, there's not a whole lot going on, especially on Switch at the moment. I put this in because this is really strange. I don't play Pokemon Unite much anymore. I would actually like to play it again. I have a lot of fun with it, to be honest. But Comfey is coming to the game. Comfey. And Comfey is like the flower headband from like the Alola region. So really strange. I'm quite interested to see how it works in the game. So I'm just going to read this from Nintendo Life. The online monster battler Pokemon Unite has consistently been expanding its roster of fighters ever since its launch back in 2021, and this looks to continue into 2023. Confei has today been announced as the year's first edition and will be available in the game on the 2nd of February. This news is shared from Pokemon Unite's Twitter account, though there was very little information given about the fighter itself, simply making the announcement that it was coming and providing the release date. So really interested to see how this thing works, because when you think about the MOBA Pokemon Unite, you think like, obviously there's Snorlax and Garchomp, Pikachu's in there, like these Pokemon that you can see them being just walking around, but this thing, yeah, it'd be just fascinating to see what it looks like and what role it's going to play. I guess it'll be like a supporter of some sort. But yeah, interested to see. Last up in the news, this is just some reading. If you guys are interested, go and check it out. But VGC conducted an interview with a member of Game Freak about Pocket Card Jockey coming to Apple Arcade. And I just want to bring out some tidbits of the interview, talking about the closure of the 3DS eShop and how Game Freak sort of sees its making of original IP, which is interesting because they've had sort of a great sort of track record of making IP, and not every single one has necessarily hit, but it's interesting to see. So throughout the article, they sort of touch on like the idea of Pocket Card Jockey, and I've got it downloaded on my phone. I haven't touched it just yet, but it originally came to mobile in Japan exclusively, and it was a free to play game. And they mentioned that it was sort of difficult to make the game to free to play and balance the game with microtransactions and that. So they were actually really happy to make the game on Apple Arcade, so they don't have to worry about that, and they get their kickback through royalties on the Apple Arcade. So go and check that out. It's on VGC, titled "Interview Game Freak on Bringing Its Cult Classic Pocket Card Jockey to Apple Arcade." So let's move into what we got, the Red Coin releases. And before then, we just got some new announcements for games coming to Nintendo Switch. First of all, we got SteamWorld Build, which is coming to Nintendo Switch later this year from Thunderful Games. And the SteamWorld games, they've had a deep relationship with Nintendo in the past. All of their titles coming to it. I've really enjoyed SteamWorld Dig, SteamWorld Dig 2. What am I thinking of? There's I played them all. I forgot the turn-based one. I forgot the name. It's lost my brain. But I'm looking forward to this. It says City Builder, and typically for me, I've never really sat down with a city builder before, so I think I'm going to make this like my first city builder game to try and get into the series, see what it's all about. Just they're just great developers, so I'd like to sit down and check it out. There's a demo on Steam at the moment, and we'll see where I play it eventually. I think probably Steam might be the place to play it. Just mouse and keyboard for a city building game, but hopefully it runs well on Switch. That's the next thing. But fingers crossed, because it'd be cool to have that on Switch. Next up, we got the Life is Strange 2 coming to Switch. So we got Life is Strange Before the Storm, and Life is Strange True Colors on Switch. But now we've got Life is Strange 2 coming to the Switch. And it's coming out the 2nd of February as well, so not too long to wait. So if you've been waiting to finish up the middle series of games on Switch, now's your opportunity when it comes out. I actually haven't played Life is Strange 2, so maybe it's a good opportunity for that. I don't know, I just missed it. I think I really appreciated that True Colors just released all at once, all on cartridge or all on disc. Whereas like Life is Strange 2, they were still doing that release over time thing, and by the time the last episode comes out, I've sort of already, forgotten about it a little bit. Let's move into the Red Coin releases. See what's come out this week. It's been a bit of a quiet week, so we'll see how these releases go. So first up is Onion Assault for $12. The evil empire is trying to conquer Onionia. That doesn't roll off the tongue. And it's up to one brave onion farmer and his mum to stop the tyrannical invading fascist army. Oh, jeez. Damn fascists. Classic old school platforming action from the creator of Gunman Clive. Defeats the evil army by throwing onions or lifting and throwing enemies. Old school gameplay inspired by 18-bit classics. Full 3D graphics with a unique art style and custom engine. 16 levels with a huge variety of different environments, obstacles, and enemies, and a giant boss. And giant bosses. And just one boss. You've only got one boss. So I just bring this up mainly because I really enjoyed Gunman Clive 1 and 2 on the Nintendo 3DS. It's sort of one of those real cheap games on the 3DS that I really enjoyed, digital only. It was only there for a long time. I believe there's a collection on Switch now. But they were just fun games where you're going around as a cowboy, platforming, and you've got a gun that was kind of fun just to line up headshots and all of that. So just the idea that the developer's got a brand new game out. It's $12. I thought it was worth shouting out. It's also a bit of a homage to Mario Bros 2, where you're picking up items from the ground like turnips, and that's pretty much what you're doing in this game. So interesting. I'd like to check it out. We'll see how it goes. I've got a bit of my backlog. I don't really want to add anything to it at the moment. And I've only picked out one more game this week because it is pretty scarce, and that's Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection for $75. So pretty pricey, but if you're into the Wonder Boy games, this is probably for you. So there has never been a Wonder Boy collection quite like this, featuring 21 versions of 6 of the most iconic Wonder Boy games ever released. This incredible compilation brings Sega's influential platformer series to today's hardware, with expert ports of some of the most important platformers from the 1980s and the 1990s. Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection offers enough classic gameplay to keep even the most experienced retro gamers busy for Monolithian. I don't know what that is. Is that a place in the game? Bringing together all 21 versions of 6 of the most celebrated games from Sega's iconic platforming series. This comprehensive collection offers the most ambitious continuum of Wonder Boy games ever released. So, Wonder Boy, I haven't... Was there a Wonder Boy game at the launch of the Switch? I feel like I played it, but I don't have too much familiarity with the series. But if it's something you enjoyed back on the Sega consoles or even recently on Switch, probably worth picking up. But yeah, for me, it's a no for me. But it's none of the shovelware that came out this week anyway. So yeah, that's what I've got this week as far as the red coin recommendations. Let me know what you think. Any that I missed? Probably. So that wraps up the show, guys. I want to thank you guys very much for listening to episode 242 of the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast. Appreciate your time listening to this far in the show. So let's test your Nintendo knowledge to see how knowledgeable you are. So I've got some sound effects. I'm going to play them, and you're going to let me know what game they're from in the YouTube comments on the video, episode 242, or you can just at me at Twitter, at iDrewby. So these are the sound effects. Do you know what game they're from? Who knows? It might be a relevant game this week, but we'll never know. You might know. Let me know. You can also join our Discord community. There's a link in the show notes. Feel free to come in, check out the Fantasy Critic League, all of that fun stuff. And also, if you'd like to support us more, support on patreon.com/iDrewby, where you can get exclusive podcasts, such as Heaps Good that I do with my good friend Josh of Nintendvania, whereas this week, we went through our Fantasy Critic League and went through all the games we all chose, and that's free for this week. So go and check that out. But until next time, guys, the doors to the House of Mario, they're closed. I'll catch you later.